Alright, welcome back to Mullen Lave Wargaming for our War in the Pacific Admirals Edition play-by-email campaign playing as Japan. We're now doing the setup for the December 11th, 1941 turn. We're going to start off the setup in China. I mentioned before we were doing essentially a re-garrisoning operation to sort of free up a lot of units. I'd say we're about 2/3 of the way through that process. So we currently have a whole lot of relatively powerful units that are on the move and approaching the front lines, and we're already starting to see some units come into contact with the enemy. So we're looking at 3 land battles in China this turn, though. The first is going to be over here at Kaifeng, where we have an enemy unit about 3,000 troops strong. They're facing down to one of our divisions. And then we also have these 2 over here at Nanchang. One of them's facing a full division. The other one's just facing a brigade. The brigade-sized unit is going to be getting a little bit of help from our bombers. Lastly, in China, we're going to be making an attack on Hong Kong. I'm not expecting this attack to take Hong Kong right away, but I am hoping we can knock down their fortifications a level or 2. I'm also going to be keeping a close eye on the casualty rate to see if the attack is sustainable or not. We're also going to be in contact with these, should we call them blocking forces? Whoever these guys are that are kind of holding Canton in check. We'll be coming into contact with them soon. These guys are now the priority bomber targets for the light bombers in and around Canton. So that'll do it with China. Moving on to the Malaya Theater. We have been having issues with enemy task forces popping up around the Sarawak area. I've gotten tired of that. So I will be detaching a new covering force task force comprised of heavy and light cruisers mainly, with plenty of destroyers, of course. And they're going to be guarding this area around Kuching to try to interdict the enemy if they try to pull anything. It's not going to be strong enough of a force to deal with Force Z, but I really would expect that if Force Z gets into a drawn-out surface fight with one of my task forces, that they will not survive the airstrike that's going to follow. I keep hoping for that airstrike, though. Maybe I'm just asking for too much. The Kuantan Air Base still has a long way to go before it's repaired. To try to speed things up, I'm moving a little bit of extra engineering units from Kota Bharu over to Kuantan. You can see that the airfield damage at Kota Bharu is basically handled at this point. The runways are fine, just got a little bit of service damage left over, nothing too serious. So we'll be moving those guys down. Meanwhile, we'll be able to give these Zero and Oscar pilots a bit of a rest, as their cap range is going to be much shorter, so we'll be able to maintain a decent patrol up here with fewer aircraft while we rest additional pilots. Priority bomber targets for now are just going to be these enemy land units in close proximity. As we consolidate, we'll start pushing our aircraft further south, but we don't need to do that just yet. Especially because they're clearly concentrating their air forces here in the south. We don't know how many aircraft they have at Johor Bahru yet, but we're looking at 40 bombers, 40 fighters at Singapore. So a little bit of a tough nut to crack there, so we want to make sure that we're attacking in force when we do. The 3rd Air Division is going to be arriving at Kota Bharu during this turn, so we may be able to start moving Bettys over as soon as next turn. That may depend on how quickly we're able to bring other fighter bases online, though, because it's already getting pretty crowded here. We have administrative room for more aircraft, but in terms of aviation support, we're already exceeding what we have here by quite a bit. Clearly, the arrival of an air HQ is going to help remedy that, but that by itself won't be enough. That said, we still have additional aviation support units arriving by rail, and amphibious operations delivering more units are continuing pretty much around the clock here on this theater. Moving on to the Philippines. Over here, over at Tacao and Pescadores, what I'm doing is taking a few ASW patrol ships off patrol duty and switching them over to using them as ASW escorts. And that's going to allow me to do is start forming new amphibious task forces convoys to start moving additional land forces over to Luzon quicker than we have been through this point, since I'm not satisfied at all about the pace of the unloading. And basically, I thought these guys would unload quicker, get back quicker, and we'd already have another trip to Luzon going on right now. In particular, the 48th Division is queued up and ready to go, since there are already some elements of the 48th Division. That's these guys as the tip of the spear over at San Fernando. San Fernando's also going to be getting a little bit of attention from our bombers, as well as a surface bombardment. Not going to be sending any bombers over to these tanks. I'm a little worried that these tanks are going to overrun my paratroopers' position up here. You know what? If that happens, it happens. I just don't think trying to bomb tanks in a level 3 defensive hex is a useful allocation of those bombers. So bombers are going to be focused mainly on providing close air support to our troops in contact with the enemy here, as well as continuing to hit Manila. We have enough fighters over at these bases that we can start kind of alternating who's getting what duty, who's on sweeps, who's on cap, and resting a little bit. So fatigue is going to be a little bit easier to manage here than it is in the Malayan Theater. Further south, Carrier Division 2 is proceeding towards Mindanao. They're going to be doing a light airstrike at Cagayan. We don't really have any good recon at Cagayan. I'm concerned that they may be concentrating air forces here, which could lead to a naval strike on my ships, either in the form of those P-40Es or even something like Catalinas. We've got these destroyers here with orders to meet up with Carrier Division 2. I thought they would go around the Philippines. Instead, they're going through them. That's fine. It gives me a chance to intercept these escapees from Manila. Of course, the primary mission of Carrier Division 2 is still naval attack. They're still trying to hunt Manila escapees, and hopefully any of these guys trying to make their way through the islands are going to be easy targets for Carrier Division 2. You can see that the whole area is pretty much under constant surveillance, so they should not be able to hide from us. That said, we did have a few get through already. We have some ships over here at Talaud, these guys over here east of Mindanao. To try to cut down on what's going on with that, we do have basically excess surface forces, we'll say, breaking off from these task forces around Jolo and Catabo, and they're going to be moving over to the east of Mindanao, since that apparently is the route that these guys are going on. This heavier surface force is also going to be cheating a little bit over to there, and if it turns out that this is kind of a diversion and they want to send stuff through here, they're still going to be subject to airstrikes from Carrier Division 2, Jolo. So I don't think they're going to be able to bait us that easily. Moving a little bit further south, the Mini KB is going to be moving off to the east a little bit more, again, looking for an opportunity to pick off some of these escapees while we continue to guard these forward deployed amphibious operations from anyone that might try to sneak in and launch a sudden attack. I'm also sending a very small covering force. That's going to be these two guys, just a heavy cruiser and a destroyer, but they're going to park here off Ternate, so that'll be a little bit of additional security against these potential hit-and-run raids by the Allies. So if they're going to make that work, they better at least use a heavy cruiser, right? The last area we want to talk about is the South Pacific. Kind of starting this subject in the Central Pacific, though. The Wake forces are still proceeding. I've split off basically the majority of what was the the Wake and Guam cover force. They're heading for truck at full speed. Basically, we badly need surface support there. We do have a battleship-led task force that's still 2 days out. That's not soon enough. So in addition to these guys, Carrier Division 3 is going to be separating from the Kido Butai. Basically means Kido Butai doesn't exist for the moment. But we did get some extra cruisers and destroyers that had already detached from the Wake and Guam cover forces. They're now joining with Carrier Divisions 1 and 3, so after dividing those forces up a little bit, Carrier Division 3 is going to head down and support the Solomons area. In addition to doing that, I've moved some Bettys over to truck so that I get this nice wedge. No, not that one. This one. This wedge of maritime surveillance. Plenty of Bettys, so those are the black search arcs indicates that searches will be taking place both in the morning and PM phase for all of these, instead of, I think green is morning and blue is afternoon, or maybe it's the other way around. But in any case, you can see this. They're basically, these are getting multiple sweeps a day, while this area is only getting one. These search planes were looking towards the Gilberts and towards Baker Island, so I've turned that over. Basically, I was making a tactical error by operating these guys blind around here, so that ends. Hopefully with eyes on this area, we'll be able to get a clearer picture about enemy surface movements in this area. In the meantime, with the singular exception of this damaged ship, which I've ordered to just go ahead and proceed to Kavieng anyways, all amphibious operations are on hold, which basically means landing's in progress already. Those ships can hold their position. Anybody else should not be advancing any further than those operations in progress. So in particular, we're not going to be taking Rabaul just yet. That would be my most powerful task force here. They're backing off. They'll have 2 light cruisers reinforcing them to try to deter any direct attacks against them. But we're basically going to be waiting for some of those heavier forces to arrive before we start moving again. At the very least, we want our surveillance aircraft to report more or less clear seas before we try to push any further. So with that, we'll go ahead and see you during the combat replay. Thanks for watching. Alright, combat replay for the 11 December turn now underway. Can I stop the bleeding? Alright, so far so good. Landing's taking place at Ternate. Brunei invasion's proceeding. No enemy ships showing up yet. Well, it helps that the naval movement phase hadn't started yet. Well, well, well. Looks like there's finally some naval traffic around Hawaii, and we got them. And this one was carrying troops, so that's a really nice ship to sink if it goes down. Let's listen to see if it does go down. No, looks like it's going to survive at least for a little bit, but hopefully not for too long. Oh, hello. And it said the Allies are closing range, so these PT boats are going to try to run down this cruiser and destroyer that I've sent. Excuse me. So they're at 9,000 yards. They'd need to close a little bit more to be a torpedo threat, I'd guess. Rather than just watch these guys splash the water, I'm gonna fast forward through this. Doesn't look like it ever got closer to 9,000, and nobody hits anyone. Ah. Well, that would have been nice. Just took a shot at a heavy cruiser and missed. Well, at least they didn't get my submarine in retaliation. Uh-oh. Oh boy. Well, I'm actually more concerned about that brief sighting in Kavieng than I am this one that actually resulted in so-called naval combat. Just a light cargo ship that ran into my mini KB over here. If it doesn't get attacked by my surface ships, it's just going to get airstruck when the sun comes up. Alright, so this could be that same group of PT boats that attacked my light cruiser and destroyer. Of course, now they're up against battleships, which means they're wasting battleship ammunition. Hopefully not the main batteries. But that's probably asking for too much. Yes, destroyers, please. Yeah, look, we're at 6,000 yards and somebody shot a torpedo at someone. I didn't even catch who fired it. I would not want these PT boats getting close enough to hit my battleships, which I'd actually say at 6,000 yards they could probably do. There we go. Allies disengaging and increasing range, that's what I want to see. Obliterated by a direct hit. Well, at least we got two. As long as they're not hitting anything with torpedoes, I'm mostly happy. Well, I guess we get to fight these guys some more. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that said 36 centimeter. That's a big one. Let's just fast forward. Alright, two more sunk. I heard some torpedoes being fired. Nothing hit us, so we're good to go. These guys really have a thing for each other. 5,000 yards. Well, at least we keep sinking. Just two left. Well, we have one more round. Looks like that damaged cargo ship we weren't sure was going to sink or not just got finished off. What I like here is it's the same two ships, so we haven't seen any other cargo ships in the same task force, which might mean that this ground unit, whatever ground unit this happens to be, was not split up between multiple ships, so we may have just taken out a ground unit completely. Always best practice to split those up between multiple ships. Ooh. Dutch sub wants to engage in shallow water. Is this the same one we shot up at Jolo earlier? K-18. I don't think so. I think this is a different ship. Boat, I guess I should say. Keep detecting these guys in shallow water, but we can't get after them. Alright, here's a little bombardment of San Fernando. Just trying to make sure we don't get counterattacked, really. Keep the enemy weak while we're getting reinforcements coming in. Decent casualties. Not really a lot of damage to the base. And now the small bombardment of Cagayan. This is really just trying to preempt any possible airstrike if that's where their aircraft are right now. Did not bring a whole lot of firepower. Yeah, and I guess I paid for that by not doing a whole lot of damage. Yeah, that was pretty pathetic. Alright, we now have small unit fragments landing on the northern coastline of Papua New Guinea. Ternate landing continues. A little bit more unloading in Brunei. Hey, it's the Adelaide again. Unfortunately, we still don't have substantial surface forces here yet. They're making their way here as fast as they can. I do have 2 light cruisers that should be escorting my Rabaul task forces by now. But I don't want to leave that task force without the cruisers to try to hunt this guy down. Hopefully this AKL unloaded at Kavieng before this guy intercepted him. Doesn't look like he did. So, this unit is divided between multiple ships, so this does not represent an entire unit wiped out. At least I don't think so. So that little cargo ship that ran into my carriers is going to get picked off by the heavy cruiser. Already hit twice by the main batteries, he's gone. It sticks around extra long to waste my ammunition, thanks for that. Oh, shit. Well, so much for hoping that by getting further east he wouldn't be willing to strike me without subjecting himself to being hit by my buddies and else. And we're about to lose another amphibious task force. And this is just embarrassing at this point. I do have some surface forces on the way here that can deal with this size force without much problem at all. Fortunately, it's not going to be here till tomorrow, so that's just... Pretty sure all the troops here are landed, so this is only going to be the loss of relatively cheap ships, but these losses are adding up. Oh, we only had 1 sunk. Of course, these other 3 are probably going to go down eventually. I should check that submarine that's close to Pearl. Or you know what? No, I think I intended one to be in close. Alright, we've got a sweep of Manila. Ouch. P-40s draw first blood. Hopefully we can turn that around. Very disappointing. Just one loss on each side, even though we had them badly outnumbered. Well, guess we get to try again. Alright, so we just got 3 more, so overall 4-1. Not bad. That's better. And most importantly, include the skies for the Gulls, who are not hitting anything, thanks to these severe storms, I'm sure. Alright, so the 2 PT boats that survived are getting bombed by my Vals, but we're missing. At least the Vals are doing something. Ground attack mission, supporting our troops on the ground. Decent casualty rate. Not a lot of squads destroyed, but, you know. So this is a unit that, I think it's one that we're not going to be attacking on the next turn because we don't know how strong it is. But in case it's substantially strong and strong enough to beat the unit that we sent there, which I think was regiment strength, just hitting him with an airstrike to disrupt him a little bit. This is the unit outside Hong Kong that's in the open. Actually, I think there's 2 in the open. But this is the first one that we'll be attacking with ground forces. More forces in the open. Northeastern China. So I did bomb both of them. Okay. Rain is not helping us today. Seeing more rather aggressive uses of these DB3 bombers. Can we chase them off? Yes. Nope, no losses, but all's well. I'm guessing this is another attempted port attack, but we chased them off. Alright, this is a little different. Blenheim's attacking our airbase at Kuching. With just one runway hit isn't going to be enough to slow this operation down all that much. I believe we now have 2 construction units here. Oof. Yeah, P-35's attempting another low-level attack against our ships. Getting pounced by Zeros. This is probably not going to go very well for them. Well, at least they had the sense to turn around. Just 2 enemy aircraft shot down. Oh. Oh, this is not expected. Alright, so the Allies are using their carriers rather aggressively early on. Intercepting my amphibious task force is unloading at Tarawa. I am fairly sure this task force is going to be unloaded of troops and that it's just supplies at this point. But we're seeing more valuable ships getting picked off, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. There's some irony here in that this area they're attacking from would have been under surveillance if not for me moving my Nels around to monitor the Solomon Sea area. I did not catch any squadron identifiers, but it would be the Enterprise and the Lexington that would be forward deployed early enough to get here. Yeah, so it looks like the whole thing of using my carriers to support Wake, Guam, while working Carrier Division 3 over to the Solomons, I think that's been overcome by events at this point. I definitely need a carrier presence here. And now all the ships that have been damaged over the turn are going to start succumbing. Hey, maybe we'll get something here. Let's finish these guys off, especially the damaged one. The damaged one's slow. Come on, guys. Not seeing any detections on the enemy surface force that attacked the north side of Pomero. Now Carrier Division 2 is launching one of the airstrikes I ordered. Nice when they comply. The storm's still here. So it's not a severe storm anymore, just heavy rain. So we don't hit a whole lot. I didn't see any reports of damaged aircraft, though, so it's starting to look like Kagane's probably evacuated. Mini Keto Butai taking out, looks like 2 light cargo ships. Yeah, that's going to be it. So, 12 torpedoes, 2 light cargos. Maybe wasn't worth the ammo. And they're back. VS-6, that's from the Enterprise. Yeah, I don't see how they're not going to wipe these guys out. They're gone. Okay, bet you should get another shot. Come on. One more try. There it is. Thank you. Good riddance. Of course, there's still one left. One left from the Hong Kong destroyer forces. This might be going on for a while. Alright, so here's my little backdoor landing. So these guys are landing over here on the road, and we should be able to get into... I can't tell what base this is. But we're going to block these enemy tanks in here so they can't defend Clark. Alright, so the westernmost of these 2 units is getting attacked. We had a full division against 183 AV, so that's... I don't think that's a full corps. I think a corps is pretty close to a division in strength. It's more like a regiment. But in any case, they're retreating, heavy casualties, lots of destroyed squads, so good result for me. This one's just a bombardment, so we can learn the strength of the enemy unit at 126. You know, in the open, maybe. Not really any hurry. These guys aren't going to be able to disengage anytime soon. So, doing a deliberate attack here at Hong Kong. Objective here is really just to bring down the forts a little bit, hopefully not take too many casualties in the process. Nobody's expecting to take Hong Kong this turn. Alright, so the forts are down to 2. We only lost 1 squad and 1 vehicle, so that's really good. Allies took more casualties than us. And odds are 2-to-1 as it stands, since they're taking casualties faster than we are, and probably also proportionally, since we have more. Yes, so especially in a proportional sense, they're going to be losing assault value odds faster than we are. So this is a really good sign. We probably have enough to take Hong Kong. Might take 3 or 4 days, but looking at these numbers, it looks like we've got it. Alright, getting rid of an enemy unit blocking this road that we could use to get around to the other side of, what's that? Is that Loyang, I think? 98-to-1 assault odds. We basically lose nothing. The enemy's been routed with heavy casualties. And that was also a core. A core with just 45. Yeah, it's a severely weakened unit. We'll take Ternate without significant resistance. You know, it's kind of odd. I could have swore I saw the numbers on my side drop during that combat, but we're not seeing any casualties reported on our side. Oh well. Alright, bombarding these enemy forces here, so it's not just tanks anymore. It's a cavalry regiment and an infantry battalion. So they moved quite a bit there. Alright, removing the enemy base forces from Brunei. And they just surrender. That's nice, I won't have to chase them into the jungle. Oh, this doesn't look good at all. Yeah. Alright, well, they won this one. 154 casualties for us. This is a partial paratrooper unit. You know what? So what? If anything, they just put themselves in a position to be cut off. Well, cut off from this base anyways. They can still, what is this? I forgot what the name of this base is, but yeah, maybe I'm not going to be cutting them off at all. Oh well. With any luck, by the time they start reaching that base to the side, we'll have so much more forces there that it'll just be a slaughter. Alright, let's review the turn. Aircraft losses for us are very light. Just 2 zeros, an Oscar, and a Betty. And that's all ops losses except for that very first 0 shot down in that Manila sweep. Enemies taken 13 air losses. Heavily biased towards fighters with, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fighters shot down, also taking some bomber losses. We got credited for an air-to-air kill on the DB3. I did notice we landed a critical hit on one of them that got away, so he probably crashed on the way back. So 13 to 4 overall, not bad, not bad. Did we lose any pilots? Yes, 1 killed, 1 missing. So out of 4 lost aircraft, I guess that's probably not great. Guess while we're here at top pilots, we'll start looking for aces. Not yet. No one with more than 3 kills. Dreading looking at this. Here, let's look at the enemies first. So the Allies lost quite a few ships. The Thracian's been a pain, so we're happy to see it go. The Alchiba was the cargo ship sunk southwest of Hawaii with ground troops on board, so that was a pretty good one for us. Happy to get rid of these PTs, they're annoying me. And then the AKLs are of very little significance, but hey, at least we're getting them, right? On our side, so if we sort these by the weapons, so we can see we lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 cargo ships and a PB in Tarawa, thanks to the enemy carrier battle group. So that's not great. And then also losing ships near Brunei and Kavieng. So Kavieng would have been that singleton cruiser. Forgot its name already. But then it was just a cruiser, the Durban, I think, along with 2 destroyers causing these losses at Brunei. So they're really not hitting us with very much. They're just very good at getting away. So we see here no contacts. This guy came all the way in from, I don't know, Singapore, maybe somewhere south. Came all the way in, hit these targets, came out, and our aircraft never spotted him. So I'm looking at some of these search areas, and I think what I'll do is condense these down a little bit so that these, instead of being blue and green, they're black like this. And I forget, you know, between blue and green, one of them's morning, one of them's noon. But when they're in black like this, it means morning and afternoon. And actually, I think I described that in the setup for the turn, describing what I was doing over in the Solomon. So I'm going to do that here too, basically. So we've got contacts on 3 ships in Singapore and a task force, plus 15 more in port. Nothing to indicate that those are substantial enemy forces like Force Z. Starting to see some traffic around Pearl Harbor. Alright, so I doubt these guys are really APDs. That's probably an ASW group that's been put together. Those guys are just PTs, apparently. May need to spread these guys out a little bit more to get some coverage down here. Our carriers are not moving very fast. I'm guessing that reorganization ate up some ops points or something along those lines. And then down here, okay, so the monitoring here did allow us to pick up this Australian cruiser that's been giving us a hard time. So supposedly he's moving southwest, so moving out of the area, hopefully. Meanwhile, my forces will be consolidating. So here's the main force. It's only got 1 cruiser so far. This is the 2nd cruiser that's going to be rendezvousing with it. And then, of course, we have additional surface forces about to arrive. Alright, so I think that's going to do it as far as our review of the term discussion goes. We'll check back in with the next video when I've got the next turn set up, so we'll see you then.